Alright, this video is going to be called something like why female Kamen writers shouldn't exist. Something clickbaity like that, but I don't necessarily believe that. I think it's on a case by case basis. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because I've been watching Kamen Rider Gavu and I've been enjoying it. We're on episode 16. I feel like it's kind of a return to form for Kamen Rider. Some ways kind of reminds me of like, Ayuto, double O's, all that stuff. But I was watching this one guy on this one guy's channel, and he was talking about the news regarding the third rider, Kamen Rider Vam or Vamu, something like that. And he was complaining that Sachika, who's the main heroine of the series so far, hasn't become a writer yet. Now, what he was mainly saying was that it feels out of place for the past couple of seasons to have a female writer or several female writers, but now this one kind of sticks out because it's kind of like intentionally not having female writers. And I think a lot of people have like this sentiment where they just think in general like, oh, it's good if there's a female writer in the show, that's a good thing because of their whatever progressiveness, all that stuff. Now again, I don't necessarily think no female writer should be in the series whatsoever. I'm not going full chud or anything like that, but I think it needs to be on a case by case basis, and it needs to work. Now for the most part, I think Toei they have it right in their regards, at least from the shows I've seen. There's only really one writer, to me, again, from the show that I've seen, where it really feels like it sticks out and it kind of like low-key ruins the show for me, for them to be female writer. But the problem is that we shouldn't be turning heroines into writers, because if they're in the show, this like Sachika. The reason why I like Gavu so far is one of the reasons, at least, is because Sachika, because she's just a regular human in the show. At least so far, she hasn't done anything that's gonna make her. Maybe she might become a writer later, but so far she's just a regular human character, and that's something that we need in writer. Honestly, there's a lot of good female characters in writer, and it's because in some parts is because they aren't writers. Again, we need these characters that are just human. We need the humanity in the show. We just can't have like the sadness of being a Kamen writer all the time, because that's what it is. If you become a Kamen writer, for most of the shows subscribe to this idea of what a Kamen writer is. There needs to be a trade-off. All right, you need to have something happen in your life where you either force yourself to become a Kamen writer, or unwillingly you kind of become a Kamen writer. Now in this show, again, it seems to be subscribing to the idea. Shoma, aka Gav, he's half granite and half human, and that's kind of like how, again, going back all the way to the show era, how Hongo, he was half cyborg, half human. So he has that aspect. And then even Valen, Hanto, he's like that too. He literally had to like surgically like have some like surgery done on him to literally become or to be able to use like the powers that he has. And I just think that not every character should have to go through that, especially if they're a supporting character. And the problem is again, once you make that trade-off, you switch from heroine to writer, you lose that like dynamic for the character. To go recent example, obviously Rene from Kamen Rider Gotchard. Again, when she started out on the show, the first core, she had the magic powers. Most of the characters had the magic powers, but then once she made that trade-off to becoming a writer, it wasn't necessarily that difference, but it just felt like forced. It felt desperate. And I think that was what was going on with the show. I think she was just supposed to be a writer for the winter movie with Geets, and then that was it. But then they were like, oh well, we have the suit, and we're kind of rewriting the show low key, and we're changing the opening. So I think Valverade was probably gonna be the only like upgrade, but then they're like, yeah, let's just make her a writer too. And like after that happened, again, there's some parts where it kind of didn't feel different, but once she's like getting involved in the action, it just kind of started feeling out of place for her. And then again, she lost that role of being a heroine. And honestly, I kind of think um, having the heroine in the show is a really important thing. And I don't think I think most people their heart is like misguided on what they want. Like they say that they want, female like representation or all that, but I'm like, we already have like a lot of good female characters in Kamen Rider, and having them have the belt, it doesn't really make like that much of a difference. Especially all of us, we're all older fans. Doesn't really make it there. I understand for most, I understand most of the female characters they've been adding, especially recently. They're doing it because they want, or Toei's Lee's doing it because they think that hopefully the girls watching Precures, they're gonna trickle in, they're gonna start watching Rider. But unless it adds something to the show, like I think characters like Fem from Ryuki, Marika from Gaim, honestly, just that basically, they make sense. Their role in the show, especially if the rules are kind of more loose on what a Kamen Rider is, I can understand. But with Gavu, it really seems to be, especially with Shoma himself, like the trade-off he does is that he's helping all these people and they still think he's a monster. So I don't especially if you're being that strict with what a Kamen Rider is, you should focus more on that, and you shouldn't like have to cave in and be like, oh, but we need a female character in the show, so just so we have a female character in the show. No, again, it's on case by case basis. If they're being more liberal with like in Geats, whatever, like they're playing a game, I kind of understand that, like having female writers here and there. But if they're really trying to be strict in a certain series, then I think that they should line up to that. But also, I think people need to start realizing the heroines are pretty important themselves. Like I'm this is kind of out of the realm of Kamen Rider, but if you've been reading the new Superman comics, it's kind of that same thing. Lois, for some reason, she became Superwoman because something happened in the DC universe where everyone like switched powers or something. But now since she's a Superwoman, she loses out on being Lois Lane, investigator, reporter, or at least right now she's like the CEO of the Daily Planet. We miss out on Lois Lane because she's helping out with everyone. All right, we need more people need to appreciate heroines, supporting cast members. Again, I don't necessarily think there should be no female writers, but honestly, I think especially with Kamen Rider, you need to be more like, there needs to be a reason to be a female writer. Like with Sentai, obviously, you're gonna have female members. But it's funny because even Sentai, they've been more strict recently about having, like, because recently Boom Boomjer, only one female a member. King Oger, if you want to get into that, there's only one technically female character, female hero. Not technically, but if you want to get into that, if you want to believe that, we only have one female character or female hero. Don Brothers, again, only one female. Yeah, it's kind of sidetracked though. It's kind of funny. But yeah, Sentai, obviously they're gonna have female heroes. Ultraman's like pretty strict, at least on the main show. But I think even Kamen Rider is the one where it's like you kind of have to be selective about it, and that's why I kind of think Toei's been right in leaning more into, except for recently with Rene. Rene really bothered me. Once I kind of realized what happened with her character, because when it happened, I was just like whatever. But then once I kind of realized that her becoming a writer didn't make her character better, or it didn't really help in her character That's when I really noticed this. And then when I saw this one guy bring up how it should be how Sashika should be a writer, that kind of bothered me. But last thing I'm gonna talk about regarding Sashika, I really like her character in the show. Again, just because she's a human. But recently, it's just kind of been feeling like she's like too motherly in her role. Anyone else feel like that? Like she hasn't really like broken out or anything. She's just like telling Shoma like, "Oh, this is the right thing to do. This is how you become like a good person. This is how you communicate." I don't know. It's been feeling weird with the character, but again, I still like her. Now, tell me in the comments what you guys think. Call me Chud, whatever you want to. But I think I'm right in this regard.